How's it going, everyone? This week, we're going to be looking at what I call fun question technology. And what is fun question technology? It's basically a recall, or I would assume lower level knowledge, level Bloom's type things that you are going to use technology for to kind of see and reinforce within your students. It's basically types of formative type assessments that you can use that are a little more fun than just asking Q&A in the classroom. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Some things to consider when you're using this technology. The first is actually, I think, a positive. You're in the classroom for 180 plus days of the year. Maybe your students are, but you are. So having fun isn't a crime. Every once in a while, it's fun to kind of break up the monotony of questions and answering and doing different things. Of course, I'm sure you don't use worksheets all the time, but maybe breaking that up a little bit and just kind of using your technology just to have a good time in the classroom and maybe learn a little bit. One thing I will say with all of these technologies that we're going to look at, make sure you have a classroom management plan, just an idea of how you want to control it. We're going to be looking at Kahoot with the very first next slide. And I'm sure if you've ever been in a classroom with Kahoot, Kahoot can get very competitive and very loud very quickly. When you use it, just make sure you have an idea of stating what your expectations are to your students in terms of, getting out of your seats, volume, things like that. Personally, I loved Kahoot. I used it a lot. I think I've mentioned in some other slides or videos that I was a social studies teacher. I used it a lot for competitions such as Golden Horseshoe, History Bowl, Geography Bee, things like that, just to kind of reinforce things for students. Again, a lot of these lend themselves to more like lower level Bloom's knowledge level stuff. But still, with all that, whenever we would do it, especially if I had a class that was probably over 15 to 20 to 25, they could only silently cheer. And I'm not recording this with my face, sorry, but I would allow students to actually raise their hands like Rocky, and they could cheer and make a very quiet, if you can hear that. That was fine. I tried not to encourage the whole lot of hooping and hollering, mainly because it seemed like whenever I would do that, an administrator would walk in, and even though the students were engaged in a very learning, active environment, it just never, looked the way that I would want it to look when someone will walk in. So anyway, just make sure you have a plan with classroom management. One other thing with all of these, and we'll look at them individually here in a second, but I think you can use them obviously for review for content. And also, I used Poll Everywhere and Kahoot sometimes as pre-assessments, just to kind of get an idea of what students understood a topic. So for example, if we were talking about the French Revolution, if the students had any knowledge at all about the French Revolution, we might do a quick Kahoot on it just to kind of see if they knew the major terms like Marie Antoinette or the Bastille or something like that. So those are just a few things to consider with all this technology. So let's look at it. The very first thing that you want to look at, the very first technology that we're going to look at is Kahoot. It is probably the most popular that you're going to look at. It's probably the one that we're all most familiar with. For a lot of reasons, I think it's the easiest to use, and it's honestly probably the best or the most fun anyway. But just in case you've never seen Kahoot, here's what it is. You can enter questions manually. They also have a database full of questions on a wide range of subjects and topics. It is more of a competition or a competitive where students are actually scored on how fast they answer questions and if the questions are right and things of that nature. It's very easy to use. It's free. And actually, after you're done, you can actually download the results and kind of analyze it and see what students are struggling with or what you need to work on. So Kahoot, that's the first question tech. The next one is Gimkit, which is starting to gain a little bit of momentum in a lot of classrooms. It's very similar to Kahoot, but as opposed to being teacher-paced, it is actually student-paced. The link is up under Sakai if you want to check it out. But basically, students earn points as they complete things, and they can purchase upgrades for items within the Gimkit world, maybe new avatars and things like that. Also, one benefit with Gimkit, it can actually be connected to Quizlet, which a lot of people like. You can download things in there. And also, I will double check this week. I believe Gimkit, because of the Quizlet connection, can actually be worked with Google Classrooms. So it's something that's gaining a lot of steam very fast. I've actually seen it in a few schools already in Maryland and West Virginia. Not mandated by the counties or anything, just things that teachers have kind of started to incorporate. So Gimkit's one. The other one is, I've always say this wrong, but it's Quiz. It's another program that's very similar. I put a link up there. It's very, very similar to Gimkit. So what I just said related to Gimkit is actually applies to Quiz. Also, I don't have it on this PowerPoint, but I do want to point out there is something where Quizlet is actually starting to develop something called Quizlet Live. They aren't developing it; they have developed it, and it's similar also to this Gimkit Quiz type thing. So anyway, the link is up on Sakai. If you think Gimkit might be more your speed than Kahoot, definitely take a gander. Like I say, it's more, I think, independent paced. Which, if you just want to have station type work and all, Gimkit might be your thing. The other two that I mentioned one of these right now, but Poll Everywhere, I might have said anywhere earlier, but it's everywhere. And Socrative, well, I want to keep saying Socratic, but it's Socrative, is actually, they're exactly what they sound like. They're actually just recalled. They're like Kahoot without all the bells and whistles. And what I mean bells and whistles, there's no competition to them. It's just a way to get formative assessment done. You put the question up on your Apple TV, or you put the question up on your smart board. You put the question up on the students' iPads, and you get answers. It's just Kahoot without the competitiveness. So that's Poll Anywhere, or I'm sorry, I said it again. Poll Everywhere and Socrative. The next question fun technology that I wanted to just kind of point out is something called BrainPop. BrainPop is a little different than the others. I will allow you, if you want to work with this week. I know Washington County actually uses BrainPop a little bit. If you wanted to give this a roll, that is fine. Just contact me and we can kind of talk about the expectations for the assignment. You can actually put quizzes in the BrainPop, so it should be pretty easy. You should be able just to do the same assignment. But let me reverse there a little bit. BrainPop is a little more interactive than the other things that I just mentioned, even the student-paced ones. It requires a little more, I think, on your part too, because it's kind of develops around stories and it's interactive. So as the stories, as you can see that little rainbow, that robot there, that robot that's actually sitting there, they're involved in a story, and students answer questions as it goes on. There are a ton of BrainPops that have already been created, and students you can go in there and actually try a few out, and as the story progresses, you answer the questions. It uses a lot of animation. I will say this, I know we have a lot of elementary in here. I think BrainPop actually lends itself a little more to 6th grade down than it does 7th grade up. I've used it and actually seen it used in 6th grade. I was a middle school teacher for most of my life. But you can include a lot of things. The link is up. There's a lot of aspects to BrainPop. And if it's something you don't want to give a shot or a chance to this week, that is no problem. But I wanted to at least point it out. And if you got a few minutes this week, maybe take a look. So those are kind of our fun texts that I want you to look at this week. What's the ultimate goal? Well, this week, I want you to think of a formative tech assessment that you can do with one of these. If you want to use Kahoot, that's fine. The reality is most schools use Kahoot. I use Kahoot more than I used any of these other technologies. Like I say, I fiddled with BrainPop. I used Poll Everywhere once in a while, but Kahoot was the one that I used the most. If you have, what I'm looking for is I just want you to create something with one of these techs. Once you do, send me the link, the code. You can also download as PDFs, and you can actually attach those on Sakai. However you want to get the information to me, that's fine. Some of them may even allow you to put it in your Google Classroom. If you put it in your Google Classroom and just want to send me your Google Classroom link again, I can definitely take a look. Just put a little note if you submit it on your Google Classroom, or you link it up to go in there and look at your Google Classroom so I can see it. You also have a discussion board topic this week, and you have a blog. Let me just say this too, and this is awesome. Blogs and discussion boards have been fantastic. You all have done an awesome job with that, responding to it. I think once we kind of got in the flow and everyone started to see the difference, again, blogs are more about the technology. So what you're blogging about is whatever one of these fun, formative assessment type activities that you're doing this week, just blog about it. Say whether you would use it or not. Did you like it? Did you not? I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago and I put it up on the board. Edpuzzle seemed that a lot of people liked it, so that was good to see. A discussion board, the reading will be posted right up there. Usually it'll probably be an Edutopia type article. So that should do it. One thing, again, I don't care which one of these fun texts that you use, just do one of them. If you want to experiment a little bit and you need some help, feel free to stop by my office. I will say this week, I'm really in the observations pretty heavy for the next few weeks. So if you want to stop by, just fire me an email so I can make sure I don't miss you. I'll try to highlight the office hours that I'm going to have. They're going to be a little different next week. I'm recording this actually on Wednesday, the 26th, I believe. So next week, starting with March the 2nd, I will definitely have a little bit of different office hours, but I'll email those out with the announcements if you need any help. But again, you are welcome to use Kahoot. I think GimKit would be a good one to try. Those would probably be the top two. If I was going to try anything and I was you, I would go with. So that should do it. I'll stop babbling. I hope everyone has a fantastic week. And again, just contact if you have any questions. Everyone is doing an awesome job. Thanks for all the work and effort. Have a good week.